Good morning, readers. Welcome back to our friendship series. Before we begin our book, I wanted to share a little bit about my day today. I know that last week we spent the entire week talking about fear and worry. And I wanted to share a little bit about how fear and worry and friendship intersect with each other, which means that they sort of overlap. There's some things that you can do in friendships that might help out with fears and worries. And I'll give you an example from my day. I had a really hard day today, you guys. I am a teacher, and so I'm trying to teach my students online, right? And it's a completely new platform for me. So I'm learning new stuff, which is kind of fun and exciting, honestly. But it also just means that everything takes me a lot more time than it usually does. And while there are just a lot of things going on in everyone's lives, and I'm trying to be very supportive, so I spent a lot of time on the phone today and on these cool Zoom conversations. Maybe you're familiar with those, and on email. And in fact, I'm actually recording this video in the evening because I was so busy all morning that and all afternoon. Usually I wake up really early and I film these videos and then I put them up for the next day. And in this case, I am filming, it's about 6:30 at night when I'm filming this because I have just been working all day. Anyhow, I had a hard day and I was feeling really overwhelmed and nervous. And I did something. I called on a friend for help. And maybe we talked about this last week, and maybe you put this down on your list of one of the things that you can do when you start to feel worried is to reach out to a friend. And that's what I did, you guys. I reached out to a friend and we got together. We stayed 6 feet apart. In fact, we went on a walk together, but she stayed on one side of the road and I stayed on the other side of the road. And we just walked and we talked and we shared. She gave me advice, I gave her advice, I listened to her advice, and I was thinking about wow, this is what we talked about last week, that right now I'm having some worries, and I'm using something on my list, which is to reach out to a friend, but I'm also finding that my friendship really looks a lot like the friendship qualities that we discussed yesterday. My friend is caring and kind and helpful, and we do activities together, right? So all these things that we had on this list, she is trustworthy and caring. She helps me. She gives advice. She listens to my advice. We do activities together. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also started to highlight, you'll see, yesterday we read Frog and Toad, and I started to highlight, friendships where people are different, like Frog and Toad, and friendships where they help each other. Oh, that's like Frog and Toad. So I'm just starting to highlight where we see these friendship qualities in our books, and we'll do the same thing after our book today. Okay, without further ado, we are going to begin our next friendship book, and it is called, let me get this so you can see it, Poppleton by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Mark Teague. I happen to love Cynthia Rylant as an author, and I also happen to love this series, the Poppleton series. This one's called Poppleton and Friends. All of the books are really fun, and they've got some lovely characters in them. And like Frog and Toad, this book also has a table of contents. So there are 3 different stories in this book. The Shore Day on page 5, Dry Skin on page 20, and Grapefruit on page 36. So if you want to skip to a story, you can always look at your table of contents. Today we're going to read Dry Skin. What page is that on? Yep, 20. You got it. Okay. Oh, I can't wait. This is so fun. Dry Skin. Poppleton looked in the mirror one morning. Yikes, he cried. Dry skin. He looked closer. I am flaking away. Poppleton called Cherry Sue. Cherry Sue, said Poppleton, I am as dry as an old apple. Well, what should I do? Put on some oil, said Cherry Sue. Well, all right, said Poppleton, and he put on some oil. Getting and giving advice. That is one of the things we talked about that happens in friendships. So we'll have to highlight that for Poppleton and Cherry Sue. But the next day, the dry skin was back. Ah, shucks. Poppleton called Cherry Sue again. I am as dry as a dandelion, said Poppleton. Did you put on some oil? Asked Cherry Sue. Oh, it didn't help, said Poppleton. It just made me want French fries. There he is eating French fries. Oh, silly Poppleton. He put on the oil, but it didn't work. But it did make him want French fries. Then put on some honey, said Cherry Sue. All right, said Poppleton. He put on some honey. There he is, putting honey all over his body. But the next day, the dry skin was back. Poppleton called Cherry Sue. So Poppleton has a worry. He has an issue, a concern. And what's he doing, you guys? He's reaching out to a friend, isn't he? I bet on his list he has reach out to a trusted friend when he starts to get nervous or need some help. I am as dry as a desert, said Poppleton. Did you put on some honey? Asked Cherry Sue. It didn't help, said Poppleton. It just made me want biscuits. I'll be right over, said Cherry Sue. When she walked into Poppleton's house, Cherry Sue saw 20 empty French fry bags and a chair full of crumbs. Told you, said Poppleton. Let me see your dry skin, said Cherry Sue. Poppleton leaned over. Cherry Sue looked closely. I wonder what she's going to find. Poppleton, you don't have dry skin, said Cherry Sue. Oh, I don't? Asked Poppleton. You have lint, said Cherry Sue. Do you guys know what lint is? Lint is like the fuzz that comes off of your sweaters. Lint? Asked Poppleton. Where did I get lint? From that old sweater, said Cherry Sue. Poppleton, have you been wearing the same linty sweater for 3 days? Asked Cherry Sue. Poppleton hung his head. I can be such a pig, he said. When someone hangs their head, it usually means they're kind of feeling ashamed or embarrassed. I'll be right back, said Cherry Sue. Soon she came back with a lint brush. No llama can be without one, she said. Poppleton brushed away the lint and threw away the bags and swept away the crumbs. I feel like a new pig, Poppleton said to Cherry Sue. You look like one, said Cherry Sue, especially with that new wart on your nose. Wart! Poppleton screamed, running for the mirror. Cherry Sue giggled all the way home. So friends sure do, they help each other, but they can also mess with each other and have fun with one another, because does he really have a wart on his nose? No, Cherry Sue is just making a joke, huh? Okay, so I want to ask you guys a question today. How do friends treat each other? What do friends do for one another? And I wanted to highlight the things that we noticed on my web. Hopefully you all have that web that we made yesterday. I want to highlight the things that I noticed in Poppleton. So, how do friends treat each other? Well, friends give and receive advice. We definitely noticed that between Cherry Sue and Poppleton, right? Poppleton kept asking for advice and Cherry Sue kept giving it. Friends are honest and truthful, right? When Cherry Sue determined what it was that was making Poppleton have dry skin, She told him the truth. She was honest with him, right? And friends, we learned, can also kind of have fun with each other, right? They can poke fun and make jokes. So I just want to highlight they can have fun with each other. So we're noticing that a lot of the qualities that we highlighted about friendships, we're really seeing in our books. We are seeing some qualities of friendship between Frog and Toad and some qualities of friendship between Cherry Sue and Poppleton. And I asked that question, I posed that question, how do friends treat each other? And I want you to think tonight about how Frog and Toad treat each other and how Poppleton and Cherry Sue treat each other. And I want you just to think about, would you want to be in those friendships? So just write a little bit about why you might want to be friends with Poppleton and Cherry Sue, or why you might want to be friends with Frog and Toad. What do they do? How do they treat one another that makes you want to be friends with them? And you can use your web. You can look at this and think about some of the qualities of their friendships and why you would want to be in those friendships. But just write a little blurb for me, a couple sentences about why you might want to be, or why you might not want to be in those friendships. If you decide that isn't the right friendship for you, you can also tell me that, okay? So tomorrow we will read another book about friendship, and until then, I hope that you treat yourself well, and I hope that if you're starting to feel overwhelmed or nervous or sad like I was today, that you reach out to a friend. Okay, see you tomorrow, readers.